We live in a world that we take for granted. We know it's a complex world. We know things change constantly. And we also have the aphorism, the only people who like change are babies in wet diapers. So we know that there's a sort of a little resistance to change. But in our adult lives, we've never, ever seen what's about to happen because it hasn't happened in history. Let's see if I can just take you on a little bit of a journey, and then we're going to see if I can get to the present day. 140,000 years ago, modern humans show up on this planet. And the number one thing you're naturally selected to do is recognize faces. That's what you do. You're great at it. Friend and foe. You know who a friend is? You're still here. You have descendants that go back 140,000 years. You couldn't recognize a foe. You're not here because you've been naturally selected out of the process. Pretty good. We recognize faces. And what we also are phenomenally great at one-to-one communication. Right? You can recognize someone. You can communicate with them. One-to-one, you're awesome at. 3,500 years ago, the beginning of recorded history more or less, we got the Greek proscenium stage. One-to-many communication. Awesome. I stand up here. You guys sit there. We know the conventions of an oration. I'm giving a speech. You're sitting quietly. Thank you very much. You laugh when I say something funny. Good audience. So far, you haven't thrown anything. Thank you. We know the conventions of one-to-many communication. We know it culturally. We know it societally. I would argue that the highest form of one-to-many communication is a television commercial. 30 seconds long, a rising action, a climax, and a falling action, a beginning, a middle, and ending. Makes you buy stuff you don't want with money you don't have. That is a concise, brilliant one-to-many communication inside the constructs. Others, concerts, movies, television shows. We know everything culturally about one-to-many. 3,500 years of practice, you'd think we would as a society, as a culture. 30 months ago, two new things hit our world. They're so big, they've expanded so quickly, they are so remarkable that it's amazing to me that people only superficially talk about it as adjuncts to the world in which we live. And if you look at the hockey stick of its sort of acceptance and the remarkable penetration it's had, you're going to sit back and say to yourself, I don't get it, but now you will. About 30 months ago, many-to-one became a form of communication. Now, we don't have physiology to deal with many-to-one. What is many-to-one? Real-time data feeds like Twitter, the status updates on Facebook or MySpace or LinkedIn. How do they become many-to-one? Because you have 500 friends, and they're all sending you stuff at the same time. And you don't have any way of having that number of people come at you at once. There's only one human being in our experience that can deal with a many-to-one situation. That's a kindergarten teacher. She's got about, 10 kids, 12 kids, screaming at her. They don't know how to raise their hands. They don't know the conventions of being in school yet. Magically, the kindergarten teacher understands which child has an emergent problem, and she solves for it. That's 10, 15, 20 kids or 30 kids. It's not 300. It's not 3,000. It's not 30,000. It's not 3 million. You get up over a certain number, you literally don't have the physiology to interpret many-to-one. You weren't built that way. You must have a tool set. Must have a tool set. The extension of many-to-one is another new form of communication, which absolutely we don't have physiology for and absolutely requires a tool to deal with it, and that's many-to-many. Now, many-to-many, which some people call viral communication, is remarkable in two ways. One, anyone can do it. Anyone can instigate it. And two, it propagates at a speed that is so remarkable that it makes any individual idea as powerful as a network television organization was just 5 years ago. So let me put this in perspective for you in the United States way. 5 years ago, there were about 25,000 broadcasters in the United States, about 17,000 radio stations, a couple thousand TV stations, a few thousand low-power TV stations, a bunch of cable and satellite guys. Put them all together, about 25,000 entities that could broadcast, broadcast being one-to-many. Broadcast as a farmer takes their seeds and broadcasts the seeds to plant. Broadcast. Today, your number will be as good as mine, 180 million? There are 4 billion cell phones in the world and 1 billion PCs. Anyone connected has the same power that a network had